Thank you. Senator Welch.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chamberlain, did Joseph Biden win the 2020 election?
Yeah, he's the president. He was the president of the United States from 2020 to 2024.
Did he win the election?
Yeah, in my view, yes.
Okay. So was then President Trump right to say that the election was stolen?
I mean, he has an opinion of that, and he has some interesting arguments about, we saw something come out in Georgia recently about ballots being properly decertified. I mean, he had the right to challenge the election if he wanted to, and if he believes there's fraud, he's allowed to express his beliefs.
And you believe it was proper for him to tell folks that they should come because the election was stolen and it'll be wild in Washington, which he did?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, honestly. Like, would it be proper?
Well, things happened 5 years ago yesterday as a result of him calling folks to Washington, right?
I mean, a lot of things have happened. A few months ago, my best friend was murdered.
Professor Luther, did President Biden win the election in 2020?
Joe Biden was certified as president and served 4 years as president.
All right, that's the line.
That's the facts.
There's also a question that I'm asking that is different that you evaded answering, and that is, did President Biden win?
Well, I wasn't there to count the votes, but I know Joe Biden served four years as president.
All right, so was President Trump acting appropriately to assert that the election was stolen?
I mean, political officials say all sorts of things, and he was certainly within his rights to dispute it.
Were the people who came on January 6th and attacked the Capitol, attacked police officers who injured, in a couple of cases, we lost lives of police officers 5 years ago? Were those defendants legitimately targets of prosecution?
I mean, violence is never acceptable against public officials, private officials, or anyone, period.
In your opinion, should President Trump have pardoned them?
The pardon power is plenary to the president.
No, I'm asking your opinion. You've had a lot of opinions on other things. I know what the pardon power is. It's absolute.
Well, I'm not going to second guess the president's decision.
Mr. Chamberlain, should those people who attacked police officers have been pardoned?
Yes.
All right. Let me be clear. I don't have an opinion because I don't think you should have an opinion on every sentence, Mr. Chairman. That does seem light. But that's on appeal, and that's the process. And if we're going to have, as a committee, a hearing on every sentence that a member of this committee or the chair of the committee disputes, we're going to be here for a long time. And I believe in the process, and we'll see what the court appeals. But second, my view here, this is really a carryover of what happened on January 6th, and it was outrageous. This is my opinion. President Trump abused his authority. He had the trust of millions and millions of Americans who believed in him because of things he advocated for. I give him credit for that. But he abused that trust when he asserted that the election was stolen. And when the people who put their faith and hope in him as their leader heard him say that, they believed him. And he knew they'd believe him. And they came here, and they were violent. They attacked the Capitol. And then during that time that attack was going on, and President Trump was tweeting out and calling Vice President Pence, telling him to cave and not certify the election. When that happened, there was violence here in this Capitol. In the first time in the history of our country, there was violence used in an effort to overturn an election and stop the peaceful transfer of power. That's the agenda here. We're talking about Jack Smith. Let's bring him in. You can ask him questions, and you're a pretty damn tough questioner, Mr. Chairman. He's willing to come. But Mr. Vladeck, on this question, I don't want members of the Congress to have their records subpoenaed, but just go through your narrative of what happened and how, because there is an assertion here being made by my colleagues that it was all a setup and a partisan deal as opposed to a legitimate prosecution as a result of the catastrophic events that happened on January 6th. Please.
So I think the point that has largely gotten elided in the conversation this afternoon is that federal judges receive a number of these requests and a number of these applications on an annual basis, and that there's a standard policy they follow. Senator, I don't love the policy. I think there's a rich conversation to be had about whether that policy really should be the policy. The point is that Judge Boasberg followed that policy per the AO letter that Senator Whitehouse introduced into the record. The point is that he did not know and would not have known that the phone numbers in the subpoena to which the NDO was going to apply belonged to members of Congress. The point is that contrary to what Professor Luther suggested, the cause of action that Congress created did not exist at the time of Judge Boasberg's ruling. It was implemented last year. And so it seems to me that it's one thing to say what the law ought to be, and I think there's a lot to be said about providing more protection, not just for members of this committee and the Senate, but for all Americans when it comes to government access to phone records, when it comes to non-disclosure obligations, versus what actually happened in this case, which is Judge Boasberg following the rules, which is Jack Smith following what was then the Justice Department's guidelines, and which was the Justice Department changing those guidelines on its own when it realized that it was potentially acting in ways that would run up against Section 6628. And so it seems to me that one can think that the law didn't adequately protect individuals in this case and still think that the relevant individuals acted within the best traditions of the judicial power of the United States.